Hello. So this is my assessment three for return to play unit, and I did case study two, netball injury or ACL injury. So my case study is Brianna Martin. She is a 22-year-old centre playing for the Sunshine Coast Lightning, who are part of the Super Netball League. She is entering her third year with the Lightning, is currently a training player with a desire to break into the senior team. She played in a few games last season when other players were injured, but was told by the coaches she should be aiming to become a starter. She has the versatility to play in several positions, including centre, which is her favourite position, wing defence, or wing attack. So she is therefore hopeful she can find a spot in the side. Brianna is 173 centimetres tall and weighs 71 kilos. She has great vision and overall court movement, and her overall court movement is fine, but she lacks a little conditioning. Her speed is okay, but she needs to develop her acceleration and agility. She knows she needs to improve in these areas. Brianna has recently suffered an injury and is going through the rehabilitation process. The details are listed below. So her injury details are the history mechanism. 11 months ago, Brianna described contesting a high ball, landing awkwardly on an opponent's foot, feeling her right knee give way in the valgus mechanism, and hearing a pop. Brianna knew straight away that this was not good news, as her teammate had sustained a similar injury last season. Brianna recently returned from a grade 1 ATFL sprain of the right ankle. So this injury was a ruptured right ACL and grade 1 MCL sprain. ACL reconstruction took place 10 months ago, and she has a hamstring graft from the right side. So to start with, I'm going to go through the calendar. So I've done a case study for the last 4 weeks of her training leading to her return to play. So I'm going to share my screen. So her calendar, where is the calendar? Just bring up the calendar. Recent calendar outline. Okay, so her calendar. I have added in where it says field conditioning and where it says rehab strength. And there's one missing in here. I need to add in here. There should be a 6 to 7 o'clock where my cursor is there. So I've added those sessions to her training. I haven't changed anything that I was given. And granted, I don't know the background into exactly what she's doing in her gym strength training with her team or her team training preparation or on court time. I don't know. I haven't been given those details. So I've just added my 2 programs on top of that. So I've got her doing the field conditioning at 9:30, between 9:30 and 10 on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then she's doing field conditioning at 6 p.m. on a Thursday night. She's doing her rehab strength program, which again is my program, on a Monday night from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then, so that's on a Monday and a Tuesday. And then on the Thursday night, she's doing my rehab strength training after her field conditioning program from 6:30 to 7:30. And that doesn't change for the whole 4 weeks. I tell a lie. It changes on the Wednesday morning. So she would have had a morning off on the Wednesday, or she would have had the whole day off on the Wednesdays, but she's now doing my field training between 9:30 and 10 on a Wednesday morning as well. So 3 of each of those, 3 of field conditioning and 3 of rehab conditioning. So if I get out of that and I go to the strength program. Yeah, so this is a strength program. On week 1, the focus is neuromuscular control and neuromuscular control and load increase. Week 2 is power and plyometrics. Week 3 is strength and dynamic stability. And week 4 is strength and trunk stability. But there is a crossover between strength and power in weeks 2 and 3 as well. I didn't isolate those out. Anyway, so in week 1, on Monday, she does single RDL for the first 2 weeks. And then in the last 2 weeks, in weeks 3 and 4, she does single leg RDL on a BOSU. So adding a bit of balance to that. So that's a progression. In that same program, she does box jumps in the first 2 weeks, and then she does depth jumps for the whole 4 weeks, but she only does box jumps in the first 2 weeks. They drop off in the last 2 weeks. She does front squats the whole way through there. She then does a jackknife on the football, which is a core exercise. She does that all 4 weeks. And then she does a wood chop, which again is a core exercise, on the cable machine to start with for the first 2 weeks. And then she does it with a dead ball in the second 2 weeks. So that's increasing the intensity of it by changing the dynamics. So doing it on a cable is going to be more or less taxing the neuromuscular system than what doing it with just a dead ball will be. On Tuesdays, she does single leg hopping in the first 2 weeks, and then she does a triple hop in the last 2 weeks. In the first 2 weeks, she's doing trap bar deadlift in the first 2 weeks. And then in the second 2 weeks, she's doing, instead of that, doing a trap bar jump shrug because she needs jumping for part of her movement patterns for netball. She then does some core work in Pallof press, which is just standing Pallof press with a band. And then in the second 2 weeks, she does that standing Pallof press on a BOSU ball instead to increase the instability in it. She then does a sled push in the first 3 weeks of the program, and she doesn't do it in the 4th week. She does football balancing, so kneeling on a Swiss ball or a football in the first 3 weeks, and then she does in the last 2 weeks. So there's an overlap here of just the kneeling and also doing dead ball passes, so passing either against a wall or with another person as well. In Thursday's sessions, so this is the 3rd session of the week for the strength program or strength rehab, she does leg extensions for hypertrophy of that injured knee, of that injured quadricep, I should say. Then she does lunges in the first week or the first 2 weeks, and then she's doing a walking lunge throughout. So the whole 4 weeks she's doing a walking lunge. And then in the last 2 weeks, she's doing walking lunge with a twist. So adding instability and load to that as well. I should also say that last week, she's only doing 2 or 3. She's doing a couple of exercises with 3 sets, but mostly it's just 2 sets because she's deloading leading into her first return to play match. After the lunges, she's doing hip extensions, which she does the whole way through because that's a pattern that she needs to help improve her posterior chain. So including the hamstring glute complex. And then she's doing an exercise called the supine hip extension with knee flexion, which is done on a Swiss ball, which I'm going to demonstrate in a video with my client as well. So if you don't know what that is, just refer to my next videos. She does that in a T position with her arms out to the side to start with in the first 2 weeks, but then that changes to having her arms across her chest to destabilize her and give her more instability practice in the last 2 weeks. And then her last exercise is a medicine ball overhead toss, which she does for the whole 4 weeks because it's an explosive exercise that we need to have implemented in her program for sport specific for netball. So that is the strength program. I'll jump over to her field conditioning, which is here. So in her field conditioning, like I said, I don't know what she does in her training with the team. I didn't have the specifics of that, so some of this might overlap. And if it did, I would change it up if I was her coach. So again, she's got 3 days here. Mondays being interval and agility, Tuesdays being plyometrics and power, and Thursdays being running and COD, change of direction. First Monday, but all Mondays she has these same exercises, but it just changes up in either the distance or the reps. So she's got shuttle runs, cone hops, 10-meter sprints in the first 2 weeks. Then she's got shuttle runs, lateral cone hops, so that changes, it progresses, and 20-meter sprints in week 3 and 4. But then in week 4, instead of doing 20-meter sprints, she does 30-meter sprints. because 30 metres is the distance of her netball court. So she needs to be doing that in the last week so that she has got miles in her, or kilometres in her legs, basically. She's doing box jumps, broad jumps, and skater jumps in her second session of the week. And again, that changes in the weeks 3 and 4 slightly, the tempo. In the third session, she's doing 30-metre shuttle runs, forward and lateral. She's doing karaoke drills, 40-metre sprints, and decelerations. And she's doing the same in the last 2 weeks of day 3 on the Thursday as well. But again, the distance just changes in those, and the tempo, the pace at which she needs to do them. Tapping into the different systems that she will need for netball, but also covering all bases in terms of the movement patterns that she will need for netball, and to be sure that her knee copes with that. So in terms of, I'm going to stop sharing there, back to that. So going through week by week in the strength rehab program. In week 1, she's focusing on neuromuscular control and light load, reinforcing movement patterns that stabilise the knee that are sport specific, reintegrating her into a more normal set of exercises that will continue to cement the rehab program and continue to carry over into the standard strength training. So I don't want it just to drop off from doing the rehab, like thinking that rehab is separate to strength training. I think it should be a carryover of both so that we can have that continuity and reduce the risk of her re-injuring herself. In week 2, we do power and plyo, which is to start to build up to the full power and plyo elements she needs for games, introduce explosive movements with moderate loads to enhance her ability to produce force rapidly, and so that she can be prepared for significant change of direction demands. Week 3 is strength and dynamic stability, where we build more strength in the hips, core, and knee to support high impact as the game demands. And this is also important for injury prevention. So that she's got the trust in her knee to be able to do the things she needs to on the netball court and not even think about it. So in week 4, this combines the above, but tapers into leading into her return to play. This aligns with the principles of sports rehab and return to play protocols, including gradual overload, targeted focus with emphasis on control, power, strength, and stability. This program will help prevent re-injury, but also have Brianna match ready for the at the right time. If I was doing cross training with her as well, I would have anti-G cross training. If the time should roll out, I haven't got it in there because it didn't allow for it. I think she was doing enough already. The field conditioning program goes through the same elements as a strength rehab program, with the difference being that it covers aerobic fitness and specific sprint, accel, and deceleration drills, as well as change of direction that are needed for her return to netball and return to fitness as well, particularly this change of direction, because it's clearly obvious that it's vital in netball. Netball is very fast-paced, particularly in the position that Brianna plays, centre, and her second choice is a position of wing attack and wing defence. This program will also help her develop kinetic chain power, which is essential for acceleration, deceleration, and jumping in her matches. It will also support her safe return to netball after her ACL reconstruction in a way that reduces the risk of injury. It also addresses the need for rehab if she didn't do it on her ankle, the ATFL. I think that's really important to consider as well. So those exercises have taken that into consideration. Thank you.